Excellent. All right. I am Colin Meidel. I'm the manager of LOL's fitness center here on site. And today we're going to be talking about physical activity guidelines, pretty much all things physical activity. I will purposefully leave some time at the end to answer a few questions or to talk more about any other problems that you might be having with your exercise or how you can apply exercise to your overall life. So as a quick overview, first we're going to be starting off talking about general guidelines and recommendations for physical activity, then diving into a little bit more about certain strategies for building strength, flexibility, or endurance, how we can avoid common workout mistakes. We're going to cover a few exercises and then some overall tips just to kind of implement exercise, to stay motivated, to stay consistent, and some things as a wellness coach, as a personal trainer that I see the most that will be helpful for people trying to modify their overall physical activity goals. Oh yeah, and I will have two movement breaks throughout this. One big part that I want you to take away is that a big importance is moving kind of whenever we can fit it into our overall routine. So we'll just cover a quick couple 5-minute mobility or movement exercise breaks that you can do when you're at your job, hopefully. So starting off, first, exercise recommendation and guidelines. There's a couple different realms that we're going to talk about that kind of define traditional exercise. The first kind of portion is cardio, strength. Then we have kind of our overall balance mobility, as well as you'll kind of see on here, minimize sedentary time. So just kind of downtime, whether we are at the desk, whether we are at home. So those are kind of the big 4 areas of movement: cardio, strength, balance, and sedentary time. Now jumping into recommendations, and there might be a lot on the slide here, but there's kind of a lot that I wanted to fit into one slide. So feel free to take a picture. Otherwise, if you are taking notes, the main thing when it comes to cardio, starting off, is frequency. There's a couple different values in terms of frequency, which is determined by your intensity. So overall recommendations by the ACSM, or the American College of Sports Medicine, when it comes to cardio, strive for 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity aerobic activity, or a blend of 75 minutes of vigorous intensity per week. So that can either be a blend of both or separate values. If you have less time, you want to strive for more intense cardio training. That way we can hit that 75-minute cap a little bit sooner, versus if you have more time and you might not be a fan of vigorous cardio, then by all means strive for that 150 minutes of more moderate aerobic intensity training. Now, when it comes to what the difference is between the moderate to vigorous, that's going to be under the intensity. So moderate is going to be activities that increase your heart rate, but allow you to still be able to hold a conversation, to still concentrate on things. So it's going to be more brisk walking, potentially a light jog, or a slight incline, anything that lightly elevates the heart rate. For kind of that lightly elevating the heart rate, it's going to be between around 50 to 65% of your max heart rate. If you are trying to figure out your max heart rate, that's going to be 220 minus your age, and that's your age predicted max heart rate, which is fairly accurate. So again, for that intensity, moderate is at that lower end. You can still hold the conversation. You can do the talk test if you still can hold the conversation or talk. You're probably within the moderate intensity for your cardio. Transferring more to vigorous, this is where you then would strive for 75 minutes. Holding your heart rate in this set zone is going to be when our heart rate picks up closer to 65, 75+% of our max heart rate, going up to it is safe working up to your max heart rate, but like anything, over time, you can gradually progress there. So don't expect yourself to, start running or hop on the stair stepper and just max out your heart rate. That would not be safe or recommended, but starting slow within that moderate threshold and gradually increasing is safe and can be recommended. So for that vigorous, it's going to be hard to maintain a conversation. You're going to have a difficult time breathing. And then again, that would be striving for, if you're looking at that vigorous intensity training. For the duration, you want to aim for a minimum of 10-minute sessions. This can go as longer, as pretty much as long as you want, up within reason, of course. Listen to our body, just how we function. But at a minimum, 10 minutes per session for cardio. And when we're talking about 10-minute sessions, it wouldn't be 3 minutes of warm up, 5 minutes of actual cardio, and then a few minutes cool down. We would want to sustain a heart rate within that moderate to vigorous range, whatever we're striving for the entire bout of that 10 minutes. Now, if you're pushing past that 10-minute mark, you'll have a little bit more leeway into where our heart rate falls, but for the most part, minimum of 10 minutes per session, and you can increase that depending on your physical capabilities and what your goals are. Now, if weight loss is a goal, the recommendation for added activity minutes is 300. So striving for 300 minutes is what's recommended for kind of the advanced fitness or weight loss. When you're looking at different types of cardio, there's a few different variations, more of that low impact, which that still could be vigorous, but walking, swimming, cycling. So swimming and cycling specifically, it is a lower impact, so it's less strain on our joints, our knees, our hips. But you still can receive the vigorous benefits from those style of exercises. Otherwise, higher impact is more so going to be anything that kind of has pounding in it. So running, jump rope, stair stepper, things that we are, even hiking, for example, it's going to be more impactful on our body. Though that still can be done within the moderate to vigorous threshold. Interval training is going to be more of a style of cardio when you're either implementing traditionally more vigorous bouts, but even starting out, you can modify by having more moderate bouts of cardio. And this is usually a mix of high or low intensities, of course, depending on your goal and what style of exercise you like doing the best. When you are trying to monitor your intensity, a little bit, as I mentioned, for kind of the moderate to vigorous, you can try the talk test. If you can talk, you're probably within 50 to 65% of your max heart rate. Or potentially lower than 50 if you're walking more at a slow pace. And as soon as you get closer to that 65 plus, usually it's hard to maintain a conversation. You want to gradually increase your duration, intensity, or frequency over time as you improve your physical capabilities or depending on your goals. And when it comes to recovery, you can include a rest day or low intensity activities in that off day between overall recovery. As your physical activity capabilities increase, by all means, it is totally fine to let's just say cardio or strength train 7 days a week, but you want to gradually work up to that point, and the program you will need to be on will make sure that you're not working the same muscles twice or not overly training extremely hard cardio days back to back to back. Looking at balance and stretching, there's a couple types of stretching. We have more dynamic or static stretching. And referring to the PDFs that I put in the chat here, I might have to change a setting in case those who joined later might not be able to access them. I'll change that or re-put them in at the end. But I have a few PDFs for desk stretches that you can print out and kind of cut if you want to put that on your desk. There's a LOL Fit Mobility and then a quick workout guide if you do want to use some extra resources. But dynamic stretching, this is going to be what you want to incorporate before your workout. It's going to help warm up our muscles. This is more rhythmic. If you do look at the LOL Fit Mobility PDF that I put up, and we'll kind of be covering over a little bit of this in our stretch break, that's going to be more dynamic exercises, like neck rolls or side leans, leg swings, arm circles. You want to get your heart rate elevated. This would be done before exercise. Static stretching is more for, flexibility. We're holding a stretch for anywhere between 15 to 60 seconds, and it's going to overall improve our flexibility, which can help improve our mobility and range of motion and decrease our risk of falling or injuries from falling because of that. When you're thinking about the frequency of balance and stretching, and I guess I should mention here, balance and stretching have a very similar or the same recommendation so general recommendation for balance stretching, trying to have 2 to 3 sessions per week for either balance or stretching, and making sure that we are stretching all areas of our body, especially if we do have kind of a limiting range of motion in one specific area over the other. For the duration of stretching, it's really going to depend on the style. So if we're doing dynamic stretching, the duration is going to be more in repetitions or sets. So somewhere between 1 to 3 sets of 8 to 20 repetitions. So that's that, like neck rolls, I'm going to do 20 repetitions or however many reps you feel like you need in order to feel that area become warm, or just to feel kind of the activation of those muscles that depending on what you're trying to aim for. Duration of static stretching for more flexibility. If you want to increase your flexibility, you're going to try to hold stretches between 15 to 60 seconds. And I have written down here 15 to 30 because traditionally starting out like any exercise, you want to start low and gradually increase it over time. Now, with static stretching specifically, you do want to hold to a point of mild discomfort. I say mild, you should not have pain. Your body will tell you how far you can stretch, so listen to your body, but you do want to stretch kind of to the point where you really can't stretch any further, so mild discomfort. But again, listen to your body. For your focus areas, really pay attention to those tight areas. Traditionally, if we're kind of in the desk position, you're probably going to hold more of your stress within our shoulders, neck, and back. Again, everyone's a little bit different, might be more in our hips. So really taking time to focus on, desk positions. Our hip flexors get tight, our hamstrings get tight, our shoulders, our lower back. Traditionally, those are our tight areas, mostly due to how we sit maybe in a chair or desk for extended periods of time. When focusing on both balance and stretching, it's important to focus on our breathing as well. I'm not going to touch too much on breathing today, but I do want to just point out deep diaphragmatic breathing, excuse me. That's going to be breathing deep into our stomach. A lot of people don't really focus on our breathing because that's automatic. We breathe to live. But if you do start to pay a little bit more attention to how we breathe, this can be a great reducer for stress, increase physical activity recovery, help us be a little bit more in the moment, but thinking less short, shallow breaths. So not through the chest. We want to breathe deep through our stomach, deep through our diaphragm. So pulling air through our nose, fill up our stomach with air, gradually exhale out our mouth. And over time, if we do put an emphasis on how we breathe during maybe our warm-up, our cool down, or when we have set times for stretching, it can then help transfer our breathing style over into our workouts or our day-to-day breathing. Okay, moving on to strength training guidelines. There's a few more slides associated with this, but when it comes to strength training, frequency, 2 to 3 days a week, making sure we're hitting all major muscle groups. Those sessions can be anywhere between 20 to 120 minutes long. What you'll notice is that there's a lot of flexibility when it comes to these guidelines. There's kind of a base value, and then my job here is to help kind of figure out how we can apply that into our everyday lives and kind of pinpoint and work towards a goal within those areas. But 2 to 3 days a week, traditionally non-consecutive days. If just like a fitness center, you're in the office Tuesday, Wednesday, so you have to do back-to-back. That's totally fine. That's definitely safe. You just want to make sure that when you program your plan, or feel free to speak with me for more information on that, you will not be working the same major muscle groups in a strength format on back-to-back days. Looking at your intensity, traditionally, I like having people work within the 8 to 12 repetition range, or even you can bump that up to 8 to 15. The reason I recommend that is 8 or lower is usually starting to work with heavy weight. And for kind of general prescription or recommendation, that can be a little heavy for someone who's starting out on their implementing strength training into their routine if they haven't really done it before. It's safer to stay more in that moderate rep range. And you do want to work towards fatigue, gradually pushing towards failures on that last repetition. It should be difficult. Thinking about reps left in reserve. If you really want to see strength and hypertrophy or increasing our muscle mass, lean muscle mass on our body, it really comes down to the intensity of our strength training. So if I'm doing a bicep curl and I just stop at 8, but I could have done 12, well, there's 4 extra reps that I have left in reserve, and that's kind of limiting some of my progress. Whereas if I did at the same weight 10 reps and I left 2 reps in reserve, I'll be closer to maximizing my progress for that strength movement. And you don't have to go to failure every time. Or even starting out, just kind of pick a weight, a light weight, gradually pick it up over time, and working with someone like me and more of that personal trainer, or just kind of checking in on how things are going mindset can be beneficial to know when is it all right for me to go up in weight? Have I been at one weight for too long? Am I plateauing? Some of those more intricate questions. Sets repetitions. So reps, we talked about 8 to 12. Sets can be anywhere between 2 to 4. Aim for 3 is traditionally what I like to recommend. Your sets is going to be your time. So if you have less time, 2 sets. If we have more time, 3 to 4. Totally fine, whatever we can fit into our routine. Repetitions, 8 to 12 is more strength focused. Now, pushing past 12 is a little bit more of an endurance focus, and I'll touch on that on the next slide. Types of exercises. performing anywhere between 8 to 10 multi-joint movements to make sure we're stressing all major muscle groups. And it doesn't have to be in one gym session. That can be broken, 4 and 4, 5 and 5. It just depends on our overall program. For rest and recovery, resting anywhere between 30 seconds to a minute and a half between exercise sets. Now, the style of your exercise does play a role here. If you want more boot camp HIIT style, you're going to be resting a little bit less. Just know that that is a little bit less of strength focus and might be more on muscle endurance, because we're seeing how many reps can I do in a confined amount of time with light rest, and then can I do that repetition again, versus this true strength style. We're giving our muscles or central nervous system time to recover in between each one of our movements. So I can do, back to those bicep curls, 20-pound bicep curls for set 1, 2, 3, and 4, all at 12 repetitions, versus if I rest only for 30 seconds, I might go from 12 reps down to 8, and then 6, and then 5. And that's because I'm not giving my muscles adequate time to recover. Technique. We want to make sure we have proper form. We're going to talk a little bit about this when it comes to kind of exercise implementation, but make sure we have proper form, make sure you warm up, make sure you cool down. That's going to help minimize the risk of injury. And I heavily recommend tracking our progress. So keeping a journal, monitoring our weights, our sets, our repetitions. This is so that we can implement progressive overload, or gradually increasing the intensity over time. You can increase your intensity by increasing the weight or increasing your volume, as in your repetitions. So strength training, getting a little bit more into the nitty-gritty. There's 3 types of kind of general strength training, and then kind of your general recommendation of what I put up here. So endurance, hypertrophy, and quote unquote true strength. I think endurance is more in the professional sense, endurance athlete, marathon runner. Hypertrophy, think this more in the professional sense, bodybuilder. Now, less about that. It's recommended to try to induce hypertrophy in our muscles, especially as we age, regardless of where we are within our gym career or where you are within your goals. We really can't have enough lean muscle mass on our body, especially as we age. And don't worry if you really like, oh, I want to do strength training, but I don't want to get bulky. That's not going to happen. Looking at fitness influencers who, quote unquote, are bulky, or say, oh, you're going to gain so much muscle. It's very challenging to actually put on a lot of muscle mass. You need a pretty good plan. You need a good diet. You need good sleep, low stress. There's a lot of things that go into it. So if you're really worried about getting bulky, trust me, that's not going to happen. If you do want to, quote unquote, be kind of a bodybuilder or get more of that bulky appearance, it can happen, but that's looking at 5 to 10 years down the road of very intense training. So don't worry about that. It's not going to happen. Strength training, that's more thinking powerlifter, increasing our muscle fibers potential to push heavier loads. So when it comes into the individual, you'll see the sets are going to be the same. Repetitions and rest are where you get a little bit more of a range here. For endurance, 12 to 16 repetitions or higher, 30 seconds or less of rest. So that's that endurance. How many reps can I do in a short amount of time? Hypertrophy, 7 to 10, so a little bit lower rep range. You see the rep range that I typically recommend people to work with. Rest period between 1 to 3 minutes, so our central nervous system can recover between each individual load of stress. True strength, 1 to 6 repetitions. So heavy weight, 2 to 5 minutes of recovery, a lot of rest time. General recommendation, that's only the bottom bar. You really need to know 2 to 4 sets, 6 to 12 repetitions, 45 seconds to 2 minutes of rest. If you use that for your strength training, you really can't go wrong, specifically with those repetitions. Try to work muscles to complete failure or limit your reps left in reserve. For the days a week, that's really going to be based on your fitness level. If you're a beginner, 2 to 3 non-consecutive days, intermediate, 3 to 4, also having some rest days in between. If you're advanced, you can go all the way up to 7 days of rigorous strength training, of course, depending on your routine, your recovery, nutrition, some other aspects. Okay, now that we know a little bit about the guidelines when it comes a little bit more to implementing what to do first, this is solely based on our goals. Whether we do more of the cardio first or the strength first. If you are just kind of going for general health and wellness, you don't have too specific fitness goals, I'm an advocate of having people do resistance training followed by aerobic training. Whatever we do first, we'll be able to put more energy towards. So strength training traditionally is going to be challenging because we're working with heavy, doesn't matter, whatever rep range we're working with. it's working with weight. We're pushing resistance items. Because of that, if we are fatigued from our cardio training, your form might slip a little bit. So if we start with our strength and then move to cardio, usually that's my general recommendation for programming. But of course, it's solely up to you. So if you're training for something cardio-wise, then definitely have cardio first, because we're going to be able to put more energy into that. When you're looking at resistance training, there's a couple options for kind of how you build out your plan. And working with someone like me, I can kind of help either build a plan for you. Otherwise, if you're looking to build a plan for yourself, there's a lot of options. Some are, I wouldn't say better than others, but it all depends on what your goals are and how much time you have allotted for your exercise. So 4 options here. Always start with large to small muscles first. That's kind of my non-negotiable. So start with larger compound movements. I'm going to work on my chest or my back or my legs before I solely single out my bicep or my tricep. So multi-joint movements. Focus on those larger compounds, slowly breaking down from there. You can have an option of upper versus lower workouts, whether that is, I do a leg-based workout on Monday, Tuesdays an upper body, so on and so forth as you go through the week. Or you even could have kind of upper lower on one workout day. Could be a full body, otherwise kind of like a superset where I do a chest press and then I have a leg press. So it's working on upper and lower and kind of playing around with that. Push versus pull. So we have pushers and we have pullers muscles in our body. Pushers, something like our chest, our shoulder, our tricep. Pullers, like our bicep and our back. And then our legs kind of divide into those categories as well. And then you can have resistance activities with aerobic activities, so more like a HIIT workout or a boot camp, utilizing a bit of both. At the end of the day, when it comes to exercise prescription, feel free to reach out to me if you want a little bit more assistance. Otherwise, whatever keeps us in the gym consistently. Yes, there are pros and cons to each of those, but it really comes down to where can I consistently maintain exercise? And then with that is where you will find the most benefit and progress towards your overall goals. Now, when it comes to the actual exercises, now that I gave you a couple of ideas, I always recommend starting with a warm-up. Those warm-ups are going to be dynamic. I gave you a dynamic warm-up option in the PDF, so feel free to utilize that for your workouts. We'll try to get through a couple of those exercises at the end, or at least ones you might not be able to look up online. During exercise, start small to large muscles. That's why I mentioned those compound movements. I'm going to work more multi-joint exercises, like a full squat over a calf raise or a full squat over a leg curl. So I want to make sure I'm working more larger muscles first, then diving down to the smaller muscles. Make sure you are working each muscle group depending on your training program, creating overall balance. If you have severe muscle imbalance, you might want that's a different case scenario. And if you do, please feel free to reach out to me. After your workout, I always stress for a cool down. That's going to be static stretching. And then ending with foam rolling is a great way to help relieve some lactic acid buildup, to help with muscle recovery, and to kind of prevent any knots or tightness in your overall muscles. All right, when it comes to recovery as a whole, we're looking at kind of what should you be training on what days. Just kind of reflect on different areas of recovery, and kind of the question to ask yourself is, how do I feel? Do I feel I'm providing my body with enough energy through nutrition? Am I drinking enough water? Am I getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep? And you want to make sure that, so those are kind of the big 3. Food, water, rest. Your body really can't be fully healthy unless we kind of have those 3 in our routine. For resistance training, depending on the intensity, typically you want to wait between 24 to 48 hours to strength train your muscles again. For aerobic capacity, usually about a day or so is needed for, so think cardio. If you have higher intensity cardio trainings, you need a day to recover. Or you can then do kind of active recovery. So whether that's strength training or aerobic training, lighter workouts with either lightweight or a gentle walk or bike ride could count as active recovery. So we're still dedicating time to our movement, but it's just not in the same capacity that it might be kind of in that vigorous threshold. Okay, so take a little bit of a movement break here. We're going to go through, feel free to pull it up if you want. I have it printed out, but I have it shared with you as well. These are my desk stretches recommendations that I recommend we do. When it comes to Stretching recommendations. If you can, so yes, 2 to 3 times a week, but fine tuning that a little bit further when it comes to, thinking you're 9 to 5. If we're stuck at the desk, figuring out the most ideal time when we can kind of move is, if we can, every 30 minutes for 30 seconds. So even if we're only tackling 2 of these exercises on the sheet here, that's great. But again, try to move every 30 minutes for 30 seconds. My 30-30 rule. So if you can, feel free to join me standing up. If otherwise, you can stay seated down. All these you can do seated, but if you can, try to stand up. For the sake of the camera, I'm actually going to start in seated position so I can be a little bit closer, but I'll gradually stand up. So again, stand up if you can. I always like to start my movement breaks focusing on our breathing. Again, deep diaphragmatic breathing. So relax our shoulders, relax our hips. Let's take 2 dedicated deep breaths. Deep inhale through the nose, fill up that stomach with air. Exhaling out the mouth. Take another breath in. Exhaling out. Excellent. Try to continue that slow, deep diaphragmatic breathing through this movement break here. All right, so again, stand up if you can. We're just going to do 1 set through, trying to give you a little bit of an example of what exercise you can do at the desk. First one I've written down is smell something bad. This is help with kind of keeping a focus on our neck. So recoiling the neck. We can kind of lift our head forward and then pull our head backwards. Just do this for a couple repetitions. Reach forward and squeezing back for a light hold, or thinking I'm bringing my nose away from my monitor, from my hand, just bringing that neck back. Do a couple more. Excellent. Relaxing there. Next one on the list is no money. I guess I'll start standing up for these here. So for no money, we think about pockets. There's no money. We have no money in pockets. The next piece adding on to this is going to be adding some scapular retraction. So we're going to, there's no money, and where'd it go? No money, shrug the shoulders because we don't know where it went. So what this is doing here is really helping us promote squeezing our shoulders back, focusing on that scapular retraction. I'll keep talking as we're doing this here. In a seated or desk position, I'll just have you keep doing these repetitions. Oftentimes we are stuck, whether we're on a keyboard or our laptop, we like to reach forward. What happens? The shoulders round forward. How do we prevent that? Focus on picking the chest up. No money, where did it go? Squeeze those shoulders together. We can have a light hold and relax. For these, you can do 8 to 20 repetitions until we can lightly feel a little bit of fatigue in the scapula of the shoulder blades as we're squeezing back. Excellent. All right, relaxing there. This next one, just bring our hands up, relax our shoulders, think about picking them up, and then we're just going to turn our neck from one side gradually to the other. So keep the shoulder blades squeezed as we turn our neck from one side to the other. If you want a little bit of a more intense neck stretch, bring one hand behind our back, lean away, and lightly put pressure on that head. This is more of a static hold. The other one's dynamic. Have us switch sides, bring that hand behind our back, lift the head away, put a light bit of pressure on top of our head. You should feel a light pull coming through our neck, down our shoulder. Relaxing there. The diamond stretch or the side bend. Again, nice relaxed stance. Relax our shoulders. Hands up for here. We can have a light bend to one side and then bend to the other side. All of these, you'll notice, can be done in the seated position or standing. Relaxing there. All right, our bow and arrow. So you're starting out, bring your hands together, like torso twist, bring that hand across, open as our gaze follows our hand, and unwind that bow string. So controlled torso twist, bring that bow across, open up, and controlling down. Let's switch sides. Control torso twist. Bring that bow across. Controlling down. You can also do this one for a little bit of thoracic twisting on the ground. So if you lie flat on the ground, you can get some great torso mobility. Excellent. And relaxing there. Next one, for a trap stretch, or I like to call this one the box stretch. You can grab a chair or you can grab a table, and we're going to gradually have it bring the chair away from you. Now, notice that you are going to be putting pressure on the chair, so don't let it slip out from underneath you. From here, we're just leaning away as you grab that chair. You can actually then keep the shoulders set, keep the core engaged. We can lightly squeeze. This chair's a little light, but you can kind of bring that chair back, and you can control the chair away. Bring the chair back, control the chair away. This is more of a trap stretch. Relaxing there. Shoulder rolls. Just rolling those shoulders. So back to what I was saying, 30 for 30. If we can do a few of these stretches every 30 minutes, just for 30 seconds, pick one or two, and gradually throughout the day, complete all of them 1 or 2 times, that's going to be working best. Switch shoulder directions. Excellent. Relaxing there. All right, we're going to jump back into the webinar here. And I'm going to go through the second half on at the end. Okay, so moving on. We've talked now, we talked about a little bit of those general recommendations. Now when it comes to the next part, so avoiding mistakes and effective exercises. I should have stayed standing for this. We have 3 pillars of movement that I love preaching about. We have our stance, we have our hips, and we have our shoulders. Regardless if I'm doing a squat, if I'm doing a push-up, a bent over row, shoulder press, if I'm grabbing a laundry basket from the floor, grocery bags, if I'm grabbing a pot underneath my cupboard. There's 3 pillars of movement: stance, hips, shoulders. So stabilize that stance, engage our core, shift our hips up, squeeze through our abs. Pillar 3, shoulders, keep them set, up, back, down. Put our shoulders into our back pockets. So plant the stance, engage the core, set the shoulders. Those are your 3 pillars. Regardless of the exercise, I guarantee those 3 pillars play a role. So always, always, always focus on those 3 pillars. A couple of effective exercises that we can do at home with just our body weight. With that upper body, again, starting with more of those larger compound movements, we have more of push-ups, whether that's a wide push-up, a tricep push-up, or a shoulder push-up. Dips, where we are on the back of a chair. To modify for a dip, and I'll go through a couple of these, not all of them, but we either connect both legs out or bring one leg back, controlling down and pushing up. That's mostly going to work a little bit of our tricep in a seated position, but it also can work. It also works our chest as well. For shoulder and back movements, traditionally you're going to have a little bit of a harder time challenging the shoulders and back at home. So feel free to grab some sort of household item to perform shoulder presses, lateral raise, frontal raise, a rear delt fly, or any form of bent over rows. You can do a chair row. If you have a stool, a heavier soup can, a gallon of milk. We can find ways to stress different parts of our body. Or there's a lot of bands. Bands are very, very inexpensive. So if you have no at-home equipment, I would recommend even a $10 to $15 band set. And you can do a lot for our overall body with just our bands. Lower body, a lot of exercises here just because a lot of squatting motions, but with the lower body function, there's a lot of functionality here. So lunges, thrusts, step-ups. Those are big motions that traditionally people may have a challenging time doing, especially if we might be a little bit more sedentary. But creating instability will lead to more stability over time. So if I'm a staggered stance, like a lunge or a split squat, where my feet are farther apart than each other, that in itself is a little bit less stable than a squat where your feet are side by side. But with that, it helps improve our balance when we are trying to navigate through those exercises. For our core, exercises like our plank, twist, or crunch, those 3 are 3 different styles. Plank is an isometric hold, and we're holding one position for an extended period of time. A twist, working the obliques, our side abdominals, and then a crunch is working a little bit more of our upper abdominals because there's kind of three main parts to our overall core. You can do full body exercises like a burpee. You can modify that with a walkout. A jump squat, mountain climbers, or a skater jump are all great ways to kind of work the full body. And then another great way, if you have lack of time, is combo movements. So I'm going to add a lunge with a twisting curl, or a lunge with a torso twist, a squat with a shoulder press, a mountain climber with a push-up. There's a lot of ways you can combo exercise together, and I'd be happy to kind of build out plans for people if you need extra assistance with that. All right. So now that we talked about kind of the basic guidelines when it comes to implementing, one question which I really want people to ask themselves is find your why. Why do I want to exercise? What do I want to get out of it? If you have your why, that can kind of help you reframe your mindset and also change your priority, because it's important to kind of know your life priorities. You know, where does work fall in my priority? Where does family? Where does me time? Where does my health and wellness fall? And depending on where physical activity falls, it's important to stay true to where you put that in your priority list, even if you need to modify things around to get that just a little bit higher. But find the reason why. Plan it out. So if you have a plan, write it down, put it in your calendar. You know, in the corporate world, we work a lot with our calendars, a lot of meetings, a lot of scheduled things. So why should we not schedule our personal lives? Totally fine and recommended. There's a lot of benefits to it. Plan out when we're going to implement that exercise. And be realistic for what we can achieve. Be realistic for where we're starting. Approach that with an open, non-judgmental mindset. Everyone starts someplace different, regardless of the relationship we have with exercise or nutrition. Start where you can comfortably start and gradually progress from there. And then over time, make sure you continue to evaluate our overall life, our goals, and revise them as need be. If you were to have a consultation with me and we create a plan, they're like, all right, great, this is working now. 2 months from now, your job might change. Maybe you're on the road all the time and that plan's no longer realistic. Well, all right, it's time to revise the plan. No shame in that. Maybe we strive for 2 days a week of exercise. And now, hey, I can do 3 to 4. Wonderful. Let's revise that plan and continue to grow, continue to elaborate and modify your goals. It's also really important to get support, whether it's friends, family, coworkers, or feel free to use a personal trainer, a health coach like myself, to get a little bit of assistance and to help you along your way. There's no shame in getting a little bit more support. And try not to overcommit. Take it slow. If within your healthy lifestyle, what you envision that to look like a few years down the road, it might be 4 to 7 days of movement. If so, that is amazing. But what can we realistically do right now? We probably can't, just jump from 0 days of movement to 7. That's not realistic. We're going to burn out. We can't expect ourselves to do that. But can you expect yourself to do 1 to 2? Can you do 3 20-minute sessions or 4 10-minute sessions? You just don't overcommit. Take it slow. Gradually modify your routine over time. And with all those recommendations, so cardio, 150 or 75 minutes a week or a mix of, strength, 2 to 4 sessions a week, balance and mobility, 2 to 3 sessions a week or every day. Those are the general recommendations. And then with that, that's kind of my job as a health coach, and kind of your own to say, okay, here's the general recommendations. How do I take that to something that is realistic? How do I apply that into my routine so that one day I can reach that value, but where can I start at realistically right now? And make sure with that you set your goal. So even if we plan it out, find that why and make sure we have a set goal in mind. Even if it's just, I want to increase my workout for health and wellness. Great, that's a goal. And we can make that more of a SMART goal. And you can work with a coach or myself to do that. Those are kind of my main implementing activity tips. Oh, one other thing to mention, when it comes to exercise, it's going to look different for everybody. So personally, myself, I have more of a strength background. I love strength training. Cardio is like, I do it to get my cardio recommendations, but I'll tell you, it's not my favorite thing. The exercise is going to look different for everyone, whether that's you setting a step goal, a movement goal, maybe a walking goal, or I want to stretch a couple nights a week. Great. We have to start somewhere. Whether I go for a morning walk or have an active family activity, whatever, movement is movement. The more the merrier. Yes, gradually we can work towards those guidelines, but meet yourself where you're at. Start slow, gradually progress. All right. Those are kind of my basic guidelines for helping implement activities. When it comes to then some other tips for some making time, if need be, look at our overall wake to sleep schedule. Can we get up 30 minutes earlier? Now, with this, don't let it push us below 6 to 7 hours of sleep. 7 to 9 is that sweet spot. If you're really only getting 6 to 7, that's okay, but still strive for 7. If you need to get up 30 minutes earlier, but that push you to 5.5 hours of sleep, I would not recommend you do that. We'll have to look at another place for activity. Make exercise part of your daily routine, regardless of where it fits in. If it is just 5 minutes here and there, yes, that might not be, quote unquote, achieving the cardio recommendations I spoke about earlier for 10-minute sessions, but it is something. We are adding to our routine one step at a time. Also, just try to make it fun. Yes, it has work right in the name of workout, so it is meant to be work. It's meant to be, put stress on the body in a good way. But with that, make it as enjoyable as you can. It doesn't have to be rigorous HIIT workouts or strength training sessions. Maybe it's a beautiful time here in Minnesota. Can we get out for a bike ride? Can we kayak? Can I pick up a new hobby that's active? Is it a sport? Is it, volleyball, sand volleyball is going on right now. Even a bags league. Yes, that's not a lot of activity, but it's adding something into a routine that is innately active, and we can build upon that as we create that habit. Be creative. Use your resources. There's a lot of things there online. If YouTube, great free resource that has a lot of videos for you. If you want to use your resources here at Land Lakes, I'll talk about resources at the very end. But the Fitness Center, for $1 a day, up to but not exceeding $20 a month, you can have a consultation with me, a personal exercise program, or even one-on-one check-ins to kind of figure out where we need to modify your routine or what you want to add in to kind of reach your overall goals. So use your resources. You got a lot available to you. Rewarding good behavior with kind of creating our own routine. It can be important to also have some sort of reward system set up. Depending on who you are as a person, you can kind of modify your routines for, not modify your routine, modify your rewards depending on how you are as a specific person. So maybe it's a food item, maybe it's a shopping spree, maybe it's a new book, or some sort of activity. Maybe it's extra 15 minutes of you time. Just kind of be creative with your own reward system to make sure that we're not just focusing on the end goal, but focusing on the little steps along the way to get there. And above all, be forgiving with yourself. We will slip, we will fall, there will be setbacks. It's a journey. So it takes time to reach our overall goals. So allow yourself to be forgiving, not be so critical on if I don't work out this week, it's not the end of the world. I didn't completely fail, but how can I use this last week to focus on my next week? What happened within that week where I can be a little bit more forgiving for myself? Or what were the steps in which I fell? So how can I pick myself up and not fall again the same way next time? Okay, so resources available to you. A couple of things that you have access to, because Land Lakes is here for you. There's a lot of great amenities that you have as a Land Lakes employee. Hinge Health, that's free PT. You can meet with a PT on there, and they'll give you a bunch of exercises. It's great for your overall mobility, flexibility, or if your shoulder's really bugging you, your knee, your elbow is really giving you grief. Feel free to check out Hinge Health. I should have included a QR code for them. I did not, but I'm happy to send you a link after the fact if you do have any interest in that. Lyra is a great resource for your mental health and mindfulness. LOL Well is the on-site clinic, and Cassandra, the behavioral health therapist there. You have access to 12 free therapy sessions over every calendar year with her, and she's great. And then with the Fitness Center, so myself here, you have access to whether you're virtual or in person. So feel free to sign that QR code waiver. You only need to ever do it once. This will give you badge access. But even if you're virtual, I still can make an exercise program for you. I still can give you a modified health assessment. We still can have health check-ins, a consultation, try to create a way to find support within your goals. That's all stuff we can do here just for $1 a day, up to but not exceeding $20 a month. It's pay as you use. So if you don't use it, you don't pay. If you use it twice a month, $2. If you use it 25 times, just $20. It is open from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. And I'm staffing here from Monday through Friday. So I'm available here as a resource. Feel free to use it. All right, that kind of concludes my overall presentation. I was going to save some time here to go over any questions, so feel free to come off mute, raise your hand, or put something in the chat. I'll give it about a minute. If I don't see anything pop up, I do want to go through the rest of my mobility break. while that's happening. So feel free to re-put your questions in the chat here or come off mute. I'm going to repost these stretches just so that people who join late will be able to access those. Right, while I'm posting that there, any questions for me? I'll give it 1 minute before we go through the rest of the stretches. All right. It doesn't look like there's any questions. Oh, let's see. Yes, I will share a copy of this, and it was recorded, so feel free to. I'll post that on our YouTube page, just LOL Fit on YouTube, if you ever want to watch it again. Great. All right. Well, I will cover the rest of the mobility stuff on my desk stretch sheet. The one I printed out here, it's in large, but otherwise the one you can kind of print it out if you do want to keep that by your desk. So I'll go through that. The other, I guess, resources there. There is a full mobility plan. The top part focuses on dynamic stretches. So this is more for a warm up, or if you want to implement this in the morning, in the afternoon, as a nighttime routine, feel free to use that LOL Fit Mobility, I believe is what I called it here. But yes, so the first one starts with the dynamic stretches, anywhere between 1 to 2 sets, 8 to 20 repetitions. Then I did put a few balance exercises if you do want to try to improve your balance, whether with a Bosu ball or just a box at home or just with our body. And then at the end, I posted static stretches. So think dynamic is mobility, static is flexibility. So I included that on there if you do want to kind of have that for a post-workout full body stretch. All right. I see one thing in the chat here. Yes, I can post the deck. Yes. All right. Yep. I will post that, or I'll email people kind of the link to the YouTube page as well as posting this resource. I'm not sure if I can actually tie the deck to the YouTube. Haven't done that before, but can try it out. All right. So if you wish, feel free to leave now. Thank you all for joining. Otherwise, I'm going to go through the next 8 or so exercises that kind of include my standard desk mobility movements that I believe you should try doing every day if possible. So we ended with the shoulder rolls. I guess I can move because I did have another slide for 5-minute movement break. All right. Figure 4. So this one is more of a balance move, but I'll show you standing if you want. Otherwise, there's a chair variation. Ankle comes over the opposite knee, and then we kind of hinge forward. If that is too challenging for our current balance, take a seat in your chair and form 4. Bring one knee across, and then here we can slightly lean forward. What you're going to start feeling is in this bent leg, a deep stretch coming underneath our thigh. So it's a little bit of our hamstring, a little bit of our glute. It's a great stretch, especially if we are pretty sedentary during the day. Let's switch pose there. Again, this is called the form 4. Holding here. Relaxing there. All right. And again, try to collect our breathing. Deep, dedicated breaths deep through our stomach. The next one is a butterfly shoulder opener. For this, you can put a towel behind your back, or you can put a light ball. Because what we're going to try to do here, bringing our hands up, is trying to stretch and lean back, come forward, stretch, lean back for a light hold, come forward. And we can hold a little bit longer here, somewhere between 2 to 5 seconds, as we stretch through our upper back, through our shoulders, come back, stretch, and lean. We can get a little bit of a deeper intensity if you do have that ball or a towel resting kind of at the top part of our back, not the low back, more of our upper back. Do one more here. Relaxing there. The next one is a child's pose. So this one traditionally is done lying down on the floor, but there is a version you can do in a standing or seated position. Seated position, we are going to stay right here. Envision I have a desk right in front of me, and all I'm going to do is hinge forward while holding onto the desk. It's similar to that box stretch I was demonstrating before with the chairs. I pushed it out, which you can do this with a chair. You will need to hold on to something, otherwise we're just kind of laying down here in our lap. But hold on to a desk, stretch out as we're slowly trying to get our torso as low or in between our thighs as possible. It's all right to slightly let the back roll, but allow the back to stay flat for the most part as we slowly get lower, grabbing on to that desk. All right, relaxing there for our shoulder flexion roll. A couple angles with our shoulder, which can be a good priority, is, shoulder mobility, even though they're not all listed on here. Shoulder flexion, extension. So kind of rotating our shoulders up, rotating down, and then also rotating our kind of bending at the elbows out. Those three are great for overall shoulder mobility. Yes, kind of we did the no money before, but that emphasis was more on our overall, our shoulder blades. This one here, less about shoulder blades, I'm more rotating through my elbow. So I'm trying to rotate the shoulder joint versus allowing the shoulder blade itself to go back. So we can drive the arms out. You can rotate up or rotate down to kind of increase our overall mobility in the shoulder, which all three of those are very helpful. Forearm rolls for this one. So I'm forearm rolls and wrist rolls. We're gonna start with wrist rolls. Loose hands and allow them to roll up and down. You can extend your hands too. You don't have to keep them cupped, but you just want to mobilize our wrists. Rotate them in one direction for 8 to 20 repetitions, and then rotate in the other direction. This is great for our overall wrist mobility and just get a little bit more blood flowing through that. For forearms, similar position. Now lock the arms out, and this time put our arms out in front of us. So before I was bending at the elbows, just rolling our wrists. Now arms go out, and we are trying to rotate through our forearms. A little bit through the elbow, but mostly it's just through my forearms itself. So my elbow, bicep are staying fairly in one spot as I'm just trying to rotate through my forearms themselves. Great. Relaxing there. Torso twists. I'm just going to stay seated for here because I'm already seated, but feel free to keep standing up if you want. Just rotating from one side to the other for a light hold. Rotate from one side to the other. It's great to mobilize our torso. You even can grab on the chair a little bit and give a little bit of an extra twist within moderation. We don't want to overly twist our spine, but controlled twists are beneficial. We went over our wrist rolls and forearm rolls. I realized I think I just put them on there twice. So you can do forearm rolls twice. All right, that then concludes my overall second part of the movement break. Thank you all for joining. If there's any other questions, please feel free to let me know. I will stop the recording here. All right, recording has been stopped.